We've been counting down the days since the Super Bowl concluded here in Las Vegas to the start of the 2024 NFL season, and we're one step closer as the NFL schedule is released now. It's been trickling out throughout the past couple of days, and now we know where every single team will be playing and when they will be playing. That is Jonathan Von Tobel. I am Tim Murray. This is a special NFL release show. We will have the next 3 hours for you just breaking down the schedule. The Handle will have you covered coming up at 9 o'clock Eastern. We are presented by ZYN Nicotine Pouches. Head over to zyn.com to learn more. So, JVT, it's going to be coming in very quick, very fast. We're going to update the people as much as possible. Obviously, a handful of these games have already been announced that we knew the point spreads to. Ravens and Chiefs will open up the 2024 NFL season as the Chiefs, the defending champions, will get the Baltimore Ravens in Kansas City. That number at DraftKings right now, the Chiefs a 3-point favorite. Friday, the 6th, 8:20 p.m. Eastern Time in Sao Paulo, Brazil. It'll be the Eagles and Packers, where the Eagles right now a 1.5-point favorite against the Green Bay Packers. The Dallas Cowboys and Cleveland Browns will play in Week 1, Tom Brady's debut. And then Monday Night Football of Week 1 will be the Jets and 49ers. As we take a step back, Johnny Avello going to join us here in less than 15 minutes from DraftKings Sportsbook, as they're going to be giving us lines as quickly as possible. What is the biggest thing that you are looking to see when it comes to the schedule and from a betting standpoint, JVT?
Yeah, I think it's obviously road trips and how long those road trips are going to be. If you're going consecutive games, if you're talking about West Coast teams going east, that's been a trend that's been kind of overblown over the last few years. The markets definitely accounted for that. At one point, we were talking about over a 4-year span from about 17 to 2020, somewhere in that range. They are actually covering West Coast teams going east at a near 59% clip. So that's not as advantageous. But seeing when those road trips are going to be, if you have consecutive divisional opponents, short weeks, and what those are going to be like, rest advantages are obviously massive and what you're looking for as well. I think that's really big too. And you see some of these, as we expect, these are the top teams in terms of distance traveled. Now, some of these are going to get tweaked. We don't know if, like, say, the Chargers, for example, they have to go travel somewhere, are they going to stay over? But generally, these should remain about the same. I always say, Tim, travel is a little overblown. These guys aren't flying Southwest like me and you. You know, like, these are nice flights and they're being taken care of. But those are things that matter, and where they fall on the schedule are very big. And I think it's pretty obvious those are the spots that you're looking for as well. And sometimes we had a schedule leak, potentially. We'll see if that one was true. But just the glut of opponents and where they fall. For example, the beginning of the Kansas City Chiefs, whose schedule is out now, we know that Week 1 is going to be the Baltimore Ravens, as you mentioned. Week 2, you're going to have a home game against the Cincinnati Bengals. Week 3, then you go on the road for Sunday Night Football against the Atlanta Falcons. And then Week 4, you're on the road again against the Los Angeles Chargers before you hit your bye. Those are 4 teams in 4 weeks with a win total of 9.5 or more. So, like, that's a pretty tough start to a schedule. Those are the things you're looking for.
And you'll be playing Christmas Day against the Pittsburgh Steelers on the road on a short week, as we found that out earlier today on Netflix. The full Week 1 schedule I will give to you here momentarily, but I thought this was interesting. J.J. Watt tweeted this out earlier today. As you mentioned, kind of the player mindset on schedule release day. He said, here's what players look at. First game, bye week, Thursday night game, any other games that may disrupt routine/recovery, international, Monday Night Football, etc., and then possible weather games. Buffalo in December, Miami in September, etc. Speaking of which, Buffalo and Miami, remember, what was that, 2 years ago? Miami getting that mid-afternoon game against the Buffalo Bills. That was the game where Ken Dorsey lost his mind up there in the booth, the then offensive coordinator. They will be playing early September, but it will be on Thursday Night Football. All right, let's run through, JVT, Week 1, and we will get you an update on the betting lines as they continue to trickle out. But as we mentioned, we know that the Baltimore Ravens and Kansas City Chiefs will open up the season Thursday Night Football, where the Baltimore Ravens are a 3-point underdog at the defending champs. Then they go to Brazil, Sao Paulo, Brazil. Green Bay Packers, 1.5-point underdog to the Philadelphia Eagles. Sunday afternoon, here are the games, JVT. We have the Pittsburgh Steelers at the Atlanta Falcons. The Arizona Cardinals are at the Buffalo Bills. The Tennessee Titans are at the Chicago Bears. So Caleb Williams' debut will be a home game against the Tennessee Titans in Week 1. The New England Patriots will visit the Cincinnati Bengals. So the Bengals, Joe Burrow returning from injury, get a nice, you would think, favorable opponent there in Week 1. Your Indianapolis Colts, JVT, take on the Houston Texans. Fun one in Week 1 there. A showdown in the Sunshine State in Week 1. The Jacksonville Jaguars at the Miami Dolphins. The Carolina Panthers visit the New Orleans Saints. The Minnesota Vikings at the New York Giants in Week 1. Chargers host the Las Vegas Raiders, so a divisional matchup there. The Seattle Seahawks, they host the Denver Broncos. The Dallas Cowboys, we knew this game. This will be 4:25 Eastern at Cleveland, where Dallas is a 1-point underdog. The Washington Commanders will take on, I believe, I will double-check that one. The Los Angeles Tampa Bay Buccaneers, a matchup of two Heisman Trophy winners. The Rams are at the Detroit Lions. That is Sunday Night Football. And then the Monday Nighter, for a second straight year, the New York Jets will open up the season on Monday Night Football against the San Francisco Giants.
So the cool thing about this, and we're starting to get lines appearing right now, over at DraftKings, Chicago Bears open up as 4-point favorites, total of 43.5 against the Tennessee Titans. Steelers are catching 2 on the road with a total of 45.5 against the Falcons. And as you mentioned, we knew Cowboys-Browns, worth noting that did open pick, 44.5. Browns now 1-point favorites in that matchup against the Dallas Cowboys. What you like about these, though, too, is this is also our first glimpse at what odds makers, and then by extension, once they start to move, what the market thinks about these teams. You can form market ratings. You can get an idea of where the market believes these teams are in comparison with one another. You have an idea when you look at win totals, but point spreads will obviously give you that true value, and then you can compare with your own ratings and start to make some of these plays as these point spreads appear. But that's going to be the great part about it. The other interesting part about this, which we can talk to Johnny Vella as we get these lines set, is again, the conversation around home field and how much this has been worth. You know, you can make the argument over the last few years, home field's down to about 1.5 points, if you want to use 2 potentially, but it's not that full 3 as we used to believe. So if you look at a point spread like a Chicago Bears, Tennessee Titans, again, Bears opening 4 with a total of 43.5. At least at this point right now, with the DraftKings opener, it's telling you that the Chicago Bears rate as a better team than the Tennessee Titans. We generally believe that sentiment, but that's the other great part about this is finally understanding from a true rating standpoint where some of these teams stack up, and by extension, what the market thinks once these start to move around.
Once again, we will be updating these as much as possible. They're releasing, we have ESPN here, so they're doing the Monday Night Football schedule there. We'll have the doubleheader in Week 3. That doubleheader will be Jacksonville at Buffalo and Washington at Cincinnati. Week 2 Monday Night Football will be the Atlanta Falcons at the Philadelphia Eagles, and the Titans and Dolphins will play Week 4 of Monday Night Football there. So as we see these lines and continue to have them pop out, looking at Week 2, the Thursday Night Football game, the first Thursday Nighter, JVT, on Amazon will be the Buffalo Bills at the Miami Dolphins, and the Dolphins at a 1-point favorite. I want to check this out because I had seen early the Dolphins look like they have a pretty favorable schedule out of the chute here, where they get, the Buffalo Bills in Week 2, but the Dolphins, as you have their schedule up, I think the first handful of weeks are all relatively manageable games for the Dolphins.
Depends on how you rate them. You're going to take on the Jacksonville Jaguars in Week 1. Then on Thursday night, you get the Buffalo Bills. Week 3, road game against the Seattle Seahawks. Before coming back Monday night against Tennessee Titans. Then before your bye in Week 5, your bye is Week 6, but before your bye, the New England Patriots road game there in Week 5. So you're talking about Jags, Bills, Seahawks, Titans, and Patriots. 3 of those games, Jacksonville, Buffalo, and Tennessee, all at home for the Miami Dolphins before they hit their bye week. So, and even coming out of that, depending on how you rate certain teams, right? Indianapolis coming out of that, that's a road trip. You come back home against the Arizona Cardinals. Those are 2 teams, win totals of 8.5 and 6.5 respectively. So when you look at it going into your second matchup with Buffalo, and I think that's the more fascinating part about Miami's schedule, you're getting your 2 Buffalo games out of the way by Week 9.
Yep.
So by the time you get to Week 10, you're done with the 2 Bills games and you got the rest of your schedule. Could be something that ultimately decides the division, but you're not going to have a late game to potentially make up whatever it's going to be, because you're going to be done with the Bills by the time you get to Week 9. You will wrap up the schedule, though. You get 2 from Week 14 to Week 18. Your 2 matchups against the Jets will take place there. But the end of the schedule for Miami is crazy. You look at this for the Dolphins. road game against the Green Bay Packers, right? That's going to be a Thanksgiving matchup. Then you get a home game against the Jets. You're going to get a road game against the Houston Texans, a home game against the 49ers, Sunday Night Football on the road against Cleveland before you wrap up on the road Week 18 against the New York Jets.
Yeah, and if you're, the Miami Dolphins, you mentioned Cleveland, night game, Green Bay, night game, and a short week there for Green Bay as well. Before we hit a break, the Pittsburgh Steelers. How about the back end of the schedule for the Pittsburgh Steelers? As you all know, Mike Tomlin never had a losing record. So they have their bye week in early November. Then they visit the Washington Commanders. After that, JVT, it is at the Baltimore Ravens, short week, Cleveland Browns. Then it's the Cincinnati Bengals. Then it's the Cleveland Browns again. Then it's at the Eagles, at the Ravens, short week, Christmas, Kansas City Chiefs close out the season against the Cincinnati Bengals. You are looking at all of those teams having win totals north of 9, closing out the year from November 17th on. So your final 8 games for the Pittsburgh Steelers, that is a daunting back half of the schedule for the Pittsburgh Steelers. And
that's just that division. We know how good that division can be as part of it, too. So, look, Mike Tomlin's made a lot of magic before. Do I dare say it? I think it's the year it runs out.
You're not believing Russell Wilson? The schedule is out. Point spreads are trickling in. Johnny Avello from DraftKings Sportsbook will join us on our special schedule release show here on VSiN, the Sports Betting Network.
This is VSiN PrimeTime with Tim Murray and Jonathan Von Tobel on VSiN, the Sports Betting Network.
Spring special of VSiN. Check it out now. You can get a VSiN Pro sub 14 months for $199. That's right, $199, and you get over a year of access. You go to VSiN.com/subscribe. Use the promo code PRIME. Access to everything we do. The best bets leaderboard, the betting splits courtesy of DraftKings, and all the written analysis you want and need, including chock full of NFL schedule release analysis up on the website of VSiN.com in the coming days as the schedules are out. You're going to need it now as we get ready for the NFL season, which is, let's admit it, here. VSiN.com/subscribe, promo code PRIME, 14 months for $199.
The schedule is here, baby. We know how to plan all our events moving forward. If you're wondering, before we bring on Johnny Avello from the DraftKings Sportsbook floor here in Las Vegas, Thanksgiving. The Chicago Bears visiting the Detroit Lions, the New York Giants visiting the Dallas Cowboys, and the Miami Dolphins visiting the Green Bay Packers. That is your Thanksgiving triple header. The Black Friday game, as that became put into our lives last year. This year, Las Vegas Raiders at the Kansas City Chiefs. And the Christmas Day games that had already been announced, and we do have point spreads on, Kansas City at Pittsburgh, Baltimore at Houston. That's Jonathan Von Tobel. I'm Tim Murray. Once again, we're live and free on YouTube right now, youtube.com/VSiN Live. And let's head to the trading room floor and bring in Johnny Avello, Sportsbook Director of DraftKings Sportsbook. Johnny, just take us behind the curtain. You guys were able to put out point spreads when you saw the official announcements to games earlier this week, but this is not like the NCAA tournament where you've got a raw number. You've got a lot of different moving pieces. How has your team put together these point spreads? Because as soon as Cardinals-Bills was announced just moments ago for week 1, you guys spit out Buffalo Bills -7. So how have you guys put together these point spreads so you can have them up as quickly as possible?
Yeah. Hey, Timmy, JVT, good to be with you guys. Well, first of all, these guys are cheating a little bit. I can tell you that, because they are not waiting for the schedule to come out. They're already finding out games. They knew the whole Jet schedule about an hour ago. They knew the Raiders schedule an hour ago. So there's some leaks out there, and these guys are on it and been putting the point spreads up a little bit early. But now we have to confirm it all to make sure it is all actually true. The team's hard at work. There's a group of guys right behind that big screen back there, and they're putting up the totals, the money lines, and the games as we speak. Every single game on the board. So they'll be here for quite a few hours, and you're going to speak to a couple of them a little bit later on.
So, Johnny, I would assume, when you guys hang up your numbers and you take action this early, it's probably going to be some respected bettors out there that are betting this early, not to Joe Schmo. How quickly will you move some of your NFL numbers when they're betting it on a schedule release day like today when they're first up?
Quickly, JVT, very quickly. When it's a sharp better playing and we know it's a sharp better, we're not going to hold the line there. We are going to move. We may move a full point right off of that play. So, that's always been the rule of thumb for bookmaking is if you've got sharp guys betting, move the line. If it's not sharp guys and they're betting a lot, you don't need to move the line. We'll hold a little bit and see what happens from that point on.
Johnny Avello from DraftKings Sportsbook. They're live on the DraftKings Sportsbook floor as they are putting out these point spreads as quickly as possible. We have seen a couple games already up there. Baltimore Ravens catching 3 at Kansas City. Green Bay, Philadelphia, that game in Brazil. Johnny, anything of note to this point on any of the games that you've had posted from earlier this week?
Yeah, well, I could tell you one for week 1 that took a little bit of sharp action was Atlanta. At home against Pittsburgh. Of course, that's Cousins playing Wilson. We opened that game 245.5. The sharps money is laying that too. Now we haven't moved it yet. We're looking at it. It's probably a game that is probably going to go to 2.5 or 3.
You're at 2.5 right now, Johnny.
There you go. There you see. You're ahead of me. I don't have the live screen. You do. I'm talking to you guys off of notes on a piece of paper. Some of the what was interesting, guys, was last year the primetime games the totals went under, right? I think they hit at a 70% clip, and they're already betting those totals under. Chiefs Ravens 49 down to 47. Browns Cowboys 45 down to 44.5. 49ers Jets 46.5 down to 45.5, and Bengals Chiefs 49.5 down to 49. So some games are just getting bet. The primetime games getting bet under. Now, is that because of handicapping them that they're going to get under, or is it because they hit at 70% last year? I think a lot has to do with it that it hit at 70%.
Johnny, how much will you see, if any at all, now that these schedules are set and we can pour through when road trips are, when divisional games are? Will you see an uptick in action on win totals? Will there be bettors that now come in and see how these schedules lay out and feel like, okay, now there's something worth betting here, or will there not be that much because the win totals have been up?
Yeah, no, they will. They're going to find some spots there now. And, the guys are also going to adjust those. But, when you're putting up the numbers, you got the win totals up. Some of those win totals are going to get hit probably before we get a chance to get to them. Now, for the guys that are betting them, they're certainly got to go out and look at the whole schedule. So it may take them a little bit of time before we do get hit on those. But certainly, I think futures are going to get hit. I think win totals are going to get hit. I think a lot of the, things are going to happen down the road are all going to get bet.
Johnny Avello joining us here on VSiN Primetime. Johnny, you guys are in a ton of states, as we know. Will you see – I'm just curious, as you alluded to, JVT, a little bit, a lot of sharp action more often than not here. Will you see much recreational action right now from your bigger states, your Giants, your Jets fans, your Eagles fans, you guys being so big there on the East Coast, or more often than not are those folks waiting?
No, I think we're going to see some. I think, Jets fans are going to certainly play a couple of games with high expectations for that team. I think that's going to happen for Cowboy fans. They're going to, bet their teams a couple of games. So, no, that money will trickle in. But mostly the sharps are now looking if there's any mistakes that we've made here. One note I got to tell you guys, this is really interesting. I got a text from a guy, and he said, and this pertains to the game in Germany, Giants and Panthers. Giants a 1-point favorite. He said to me, if Germany is our allies, why would we send them that game?
And the game you allude to is the New York Giants taking out the Carolina Panthers, where that number right now at DraftKings Sportsbook, Giants -1 with a total of 42.5, JVT.
So here's what I'm curious about is, John, how the bettors who are respected and are attacking these right now, how deep will they go in terms of the schedule? Because you guys are hanging up numbers pretty deep into the schedule. I think at some point you'll have numbers up for every single game. You correct me if I'm wrong. How deep will they go down the board and pick off some of these numbers in terms of week 1 all the way through week 18?
I think they'll go all the way to week 18.
Yeah.
They're going to look. Well, maybe not week 18.
Right. Yeah.
Maybe to week 17. They're going to look before and after. They're going to speculate on what they think may happen. They're going to look at why a number shouldn't be that. It's going to be lower because a team maybe's going to have a tough schedule or got a couple of road games. Now, we're looking at all that too, but that's how they're going to handicap a lot of those games. But I think JVT, they're going everywhere from 1 to 17.
Yeah.
Right now at DraftKings Sportsbook, numbers up for every single Week 1 game. And it looks like, Johnny, the biggest favorite right now, the Cincinnati Bengals, are an 8-point favorite against the New England Patriots. Get your teaser now. Move those Cincinnati Bengals down from 8 down to 2, Johnny.
Well, we're 8-point favorite in that game, but we're going to see what? What do you think the highest point spread we'll see this year in the NFL? You think we'll be 17?
Oh, yeah, as the year goes on.
I mean, it's, at some point when we get these garbage quarterbacks that eventually will take over, we always see it every single year. We'd probably get to there at some point.
Yeah, that's right. And so that's where some of this handicapping comes in, JVT, at some of those games down the road. If you can find a game that's maybe 10 or 9 now, it's going to be 17 then. That's quite an edge.
Yeah, no double-digit point spreads as of yet at DraftKings Sportsbook. So hopefully, a Week 1 as of right now, we will keep our eyes on
Sounds
that.
like parity in the NFL, guys.
There you go. Monday Night Football, we've got the 49ers laying 5.5 against the New York Jets. And elsewhere across the board, we've got some pretty low totals there. So should be a fascinating night for you guys. Johnny, I know you and the others are going to be jumping on throughout the evening. We're going to have a special edition of The Handle coming up top of the hour. Johnny, great stuff. We'll be talking to you soon.
Thank you much, guys. Have a good night.
There he is, Johnny Avello, joining us live from the DraftKings Sportsbook trading room floor there as the schedule is out. JVT and I are perusing and making our way through all of these point spreads. Johnny, of course, joining us courtesy of our progressive guest line. Owner and CEO of Circa and Circa Sports, Derek Stevens, is going to jump in studio here in just a little bit. You know, the question we'll probably ask Derek is you got to look at the full grid, JVT, but who is going to be that most popular Week 1 survivor play when that is announced?
Yes, I haven't seen. We'll have to double check everything, but I'm sure we'll have a lot of people going with the big guns early on. You got to survive at least one.
Bills, both are north of a touchdown favorites. The schedule is released. We are working our way through it. We'll try to get you point spreads on as many games as possible. We'll look at all the primetime games, all the holidays, everything you need to know here on this hour. Matt Brown will have you covered coming up top of the hour. But as mentioned, owner and CEO of Circa and Circa Sports, Derek Stevens, will pop in studio next on the special schedule release.
VSiN Primetime with Tim Murray and Jonathan Von Tobel on VSiN, the Sports Betting Network.
VSiN.com, folks. Check it out now. You have a lot of great content up there, including what will soon be some schedule analysis as the NFL schedules are here. You can also check out our spring special, VSiN.com/subscribe. Use the promo code PRIME. Get 14 months of access for less than $200. Check it out now. All up on the brand new and improved VSiN.com.
The schedule is here. We've got point spreads, and we have the owner and CEO of Circa and Circa Sports, Derek Stevens, joining us here in studio. Derek, it's a glorious day. We do know that our good friend Wilbo is grinding it up there at Stadium Swim, making sure all the prices are ready to go. So I just asked Johnny Avello about take us behind the curtain. Take us behind the curtain for you guys from two fronts. From the Circa Sports front, setting the lines, getting everything prepared, and then also the Circa Business front, where you guys are preparing yourselves for your money-making season, the football season.
Yeah, I mean, you got it right here. I mean, right now we got a lot of war rooms going on. The Stadium Swim war room, I think, that's where Wilbo just told me he was at. He's watching VSiN right now, working on pricing. We've got our hotel war room working on pricing. We've got transportation working on things. We got a lot cooking right now. And in the same time, we're also filming a top-rated movie down at Barry's, and that's why it's closed tonight. So.
Okay, all right. Well, there's a lot going on.
Never
here.
had Vince Vaughn and Al Pacino in the joint at the same time. Actually, we never had Vince Vaughn and Al Pacino ever in the joint. But yeah, they're 2 days worth to film a scene, so it's going to be interesting. I will tell you. Let's get back to why we're here, and this is the schedule.
Yeah.
This schedule, when you see this, it's kind of like one of those things. You get so excited. It's a day of anticipation. But effectively, by noon today, Pacific time, you had about 70% of the schedule released.
Yeah.
The thing that we look at that's so important to us is you look at this from a sports side. You look at this from an operational business side, which is maybe a little bit more Raiders and visiting team related. You look at this from just the overall business side, and I will tell you. Let me start with Las Vegas. The Las Vegas schedule, with the AFC teams only having 8 home games this year, this thing couldn't have worked out better. Oh my goodness! I'm looking at this. The Raiders open week 3 at home. We're already working on a pretty big deal with Carolina Panthers fans coming out.
September 22nd, the Carolina Panthers here in Las Vegas. That'll be the Raiders' home opener, week 3.
We've got the whole Salty Turtle crew from Charlotte ready to come out. Big Panthers fans, big sports bettors led by Gamble Balls and crew. That they'll be coming out that week 3, and then they fire right back with what's going to be an absolute madhouse. I mean, this is one that's been circled. When are the Browns coming? Browns are coming on Life is Beautiful weekend, so it's going to be a pretty monster
September 29th,
weekend.
1:25 kickoff. We had talked about that last week. When are the Browns going to come? That was one of the big games you guys had circled. Pretty good weekend.
Pretty great weekend. I mean, you don't know where you're going to be in baseball. You're getting close to the last weekend in baseball. This is going to be just an absolutely berserk weekend in Las Vegas. This is one where I'm sure everything in Vegas is going to get sold out pretty quickly.
Yeah. How much of part of this when you're planning stuff out is also looking at the general primetime schedule and thinking people are just going to come out for big games as opposed to even just road trips, right?
Oh, absolutely. I mean the big games. I mean, we love the way the schedule starts. It's going to be opening Thursday night, Chiefs Baltimore. Monster first game ever in South America in Brazil with Philly and Green Bay on Friday. Then you're going to have a huge football weekend. Michigan starts off big noon against Texas
That's right.
on the Saturday, and then you got opening Sunday, and then of course opening one night. So this is just going to be just a phenomenal opening week. So that weekend's terrific. We know weekend number 2 is terrific. That's why we like the Raiders open on the road, because week 1 is just such a big deal as it is. Then you go October 13th, and look at this. We got second year in a row. We got the Pittsburgh Steelers coming to town. That's going to be a terrific week. A couple weeks later, we got Chiefs coming in just before Halloween. Chiefs travel like crazy, and obviously with the Super Bowl winner coming to town, going to be a big deal. Then you got to jump all the way to November 24th. Now, this is what I find very interesting. This was originally a date that the Raiders used their chip to say, hey, we don't want a game on that weekend. Mm-hmm. That got pulled. And it's a real big deal for Las Vegas, because that is, when the Broncos come, that's F1 weekend here. So this is actually something I think that where Las Vegas always gets better. We learned a lot with F1 weekend the first go around. Brings in a massive amount of international customers. Well, how about doing something with American fans? As well. Look at this. We're going to have Bronco fans in here.
Yeah.
I'm really glad it's still a drivable distance in case flights are crazy. But this is going to be terrific. I mean, F1's going to be busy Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, and then the race is Saturday night. Bronco fans are coming in. That's going to be terrific on Sunday. So we're excited about that one. And then, boom, look at this.
3 weeks
later.
The
day after all the Cowboys leave, after, you guys know what NFR means, doesn't. And, now we're booking bull riding. We're booking steer wrestling. They're all out of town. And what's usually this little dip in the calendar in Vegas, boom, you hit Atlanta on Monday Night Football. This couldn't be better. I mean, I'm one that thinks Atlanta is one of the key games on this schedule in Vegas. I think the Falcon fans are going to travel like crazy. So I think this is awesome. And then on what's effectively the slowest weekend of the year, you got Jacksonville coming in right before Christmas, which will also be
college football playoff
the
weekend.
Super Yeah, the quadruple header for college football. So we're gonna bring football fans from Jacksonville into town on the opening quadruple header for college. I mean, this is awesome. So I think it's a great lineup for Las Vegas. Whether it's a great lineup for the
Raiders,
for the Las Vegas Raiders, I don't know. I'm looking at for the business side of this,
right.
you know.
Week 15, as Derek alluded to, that'll be the Atlanta Falcons, the only Monday nighter on the schedule for the Las Vegas Raiders. And then December 22nd, they turn around, they play the Jacksonville Jaguars here in Vegas as well on what will be a pretty monster weekend. Usually a very quiet weekend, but with the college football playoff, a couple big-time Saturday night games in the NFL as well. But Derek, let's get to the important stuff. We know the date is to be determined. At some point, you guys are going to make the big, elaborate announcement, Circa Million, Circa Survivor. But it's not too early to look at a little gamesmanship of what we're going to do in week 1 here. Now, we don't have the handy-dandy grid yet. I'm sure that's going to be coming soon. That might be in another war room somewhere here in Circa. You guys
I literally got off my group text with Drew McCluzek. I go, hey, the grid's done. Let's go. When are we going to have it to the printer? Because I'll have it by Friday morning at the latest. So, you're right. We're on it.
So, right now, your two biggest favorites in week 1, it looks like it's the Cincinnati Bengals at home against the New England Patriots. You also have in week 1 the Niners at home against the Jets. That's Monday Night Football. You're probably not going to want to use the Niners there. And you also have the Buffalo Bills at home against the Arizona Cardinals. So those are the 3 biggest favorites so far in week 1. No double-digit favorites yet. So going to be fascinating to see as we will spend the next summer months discussing what we should do in week 1 of Survivor here.
True. I mean, a couple of things I think for takeaways for the Survivor fans that happen to be listening right now. I mean, I think everybody realized how much we enjoyed Kansas City, Detroit as the opening game last year, and we made an adjustment on the rule that we let you get up to the 10 max and the million to the 10 max on Survivor going into the Sunday. Well, I mean, we got Thursday Night Football, but we also got Friday Night Football.
When will the
maybe there's a way to get in? Maybe there's more ways to get into the max. I'm just saying.
So the deadline last year is always Saturday.
Yeah.
Correct? So maybe we'll have 2 games to play with.
Think about the contestant that made it so far, Jessica Hearns. Who did she take last year? She took the Detroit Lions because she was going to jump back in case the Lions blew open again. She was going to fire back with 10 because we let you get to 10 going into the Sunday. Now you have 4 teams to play if you're going to play that strategy. So that's pretty interesting. The other thing that's obviously interesting is, of course, everyone here on VSiN and you guys know how much. Like when you think about Circus Sports, what do you think? We're holiday orientated. We love Thanksgiving, and now that's the first thing comes up. Now we're also Christmas orientated.
Only 2 games.
And look at this.
3 last year.
Look at this.
Christmas
look at this.
In May, yeah.
Well, I mean, there's been some heated discussions today about the Boxing Day game because it's a Thursday. So these are the reasons why we need to have the schedule. But when you take a look at you got the 3 games on Thanksgiving, which is also interesting because you've got Chiefs and the Bears that play both Christmas and Thanksgiving. So little more strategy coming in. If you look at the we got the Black Friday game and then
Black Friday is Vegas at Kansas City, which last year lost some people when the Raiders as 10-point underdogs beat the Chiefs in Kansas City.
To answer your question, though, it won't be long. We'll announce soon. We'll be opening up shortly. Thanks a lot,
teaser
fellas.
right there. Derek Stevens, owner, CEO of Circa and Circa Sports. Schedule is here, folks. We'll run through as many point spreads as possible to close out the show.
This is VSiN Primetime with Tim Murray and Jonathan Von Tobel on VSiN, the Sports Betting Network.
Sound the trumpets. It's horse racing time, folks. Saddle up for action with DK Horse, an official DraftKings affiliate. Right now, new customers who download the DK Horse app get a 100% deposit bonus up to $250 when you use the promo code VSiNHorse, all one word. Just deposit $25 or more. Complete the playthrough requirement, wager on your favorite horses, and watch the races live right on the app. Download the DK Horse app now.
Thanks to Derek Stevens for popping in studio and breaking it down. Didn't give us the official date, but said it's coming soon. All of the news regarding Circa Millions and Circa Survivor. And for those wondering, I would imagine, he didn't say so, but I would imagine, JVT, we will get the Thanksgiving week by itself. Bears, Lions, Giants, Cowboys, Dolphins, Packers, Raiders, Chiefs. And then Christmas is on a Wednesday this year. That's the Kansas City-Pittsburgh game, Baltimore-Houston game. And then there will be a game, shouts to our friends north of the border, on Boxing Day, Seattle at Chicago. So Chicago and Kansas City, if you're thinking from a Survivor standpoint, they are going to be interesting discussions because they will more than likely be options for both of those holidays.
Yes.
Looking at bye weeks, just a couple things that jumped out. Who has the early bye weeks when you're thinking about win totals and all of that? So Detroit, the Chargers, Philadelphia, and Tennessee, JVT, all have their bye week 5. So from there on out, no bye weeks straight through from week 6 to week 18. And then the late bye weeks, week 14, that is late. Washington, New England, Indianapolis, Houston, Denver, and Buffalo. They will play 13 games to start the year uninterrupted. So as you're looking at win totals and all of that, I think it's important to note kind of how the schedule breaks for some of these teams out of the chute here.
Oh, yeah, obviously. And obviously, we know that the general late buys when it comes to health, everything like that. I'm fascinated by breaking these down a little bit more in terms of finding out. The rest advantages are always going to be the big ones, right? Where you at a disadvantage, how many you have for your entire schedule. Now that you have this full grid that you can look at and kind of pick those things off, we'll be able to understand and subsequently what the market's going to do with some of those rest advantages, and if we see some of this juice move around for some of these win totals that have been hung at multiple shops right now.
There will be 9 teams this year that have to play games on 4 days rest. Jets, 49ers, Seahawks, Rams, Bengals, Browns, Ravens, Texans, and Steelers. So, yeah, as the days go on, certainly we will break it down, taking a look at rest advantage from a standpoint. But let's circle back to week 1. We've got a graphic made. Props to our team back there working their butts off. By the way, Matt Brown and Mike Samich will join you coming up top of the hour, a special edition of The Handle as they work their way through the schedule release. It is out right now, and we have point spreads for a bunch of games. But let's get to the week 1 slate here. We knew a couple of these games prior to today, but Ravens and Chiefs, they kick off the NFL season in Kansas City. Chiefs right now a 3-point favorite at DraftKings. Eagles a 1.5-point favorite against the Carolina Panthers. That game in Sao Paulo, Brazil. And then Sunday, these are the 1 o'clock games. The Panthers at the Saints. Saints laying 4.5 at home. Texans laying 1 at the Colts. Disrespect for your beloved Indianapolis Colts, JVT. Patriots at Bengals. I believe that number has ticked up to 8 in favor of the Bengals at home. The Vikings at the Giants. Giants laying 1. Will that be the debut of J.J. McCarthy, or will it be Sam Darnold for the Minnesota Vikings? The Chicago Bears, a 4-point favorite in Caleb Williams' NFL debut. The Bears laying 4 there at home. The Steelers are at the Falcons. We heard from Johnny Avello earlier in the show that this was early action from some sharp folks there at DraftKings. They laid the 2 with the Falcons against the Pittsburgh Steelers as the Falcons now a 1-point favorite in week 1. Those are all the 1 o'clock games.
Yeah, I think so. The things that stick out here, obviously, the one that you kind of hung on for a second. If you go to Chicago, we're assuming rookie quarterback making his first start.
Oh, it's been announced. Unless he gets hurt, he's going to be the guy.
Caleb Williams is going to get the start. So you get a rookie quarterback, yes, at home, but laying well over that key number. You're laying 4 here against the Tennessee Titans, a team that did add quite a bit in the offseason, does have a returning quarterback, depending on what you think of him, and Will Levis. But that is one that sticks out as well. And, of course, too, the other opportunities when you're looking at the schedule as a whole, which people will be looking at immediately, Tim, which are the teasable opportunities, right? Pittsburgh Steelers, Atlanta Falcons, that's a 2.5-point spread. So you're looking at the Pittsburgh Steelers there. Indianapolis and Houston, you mentioned that's 1.5 now. So teasing up Indianapolis to get up to 7.5, a potential option for you there too.
Green Bay in a neutral site, teasing up to 7.5 against the Eagles.
Yep, I mean that's going to be an option as well. You're looking at some of these others. Cincinnati laying 8, you can get that down to 2. Let's see, trying to get through some of these others as well. But there's going to be plenty of opportunities. Those will be the popular ones. And what's even interesting as well is some of these other spots. For example, Tampa Bay, Washington. Tampa Bay 3.5-point favorite. Again, a solid number, right? The key number in the hook against the Washington Commanders, a team that I think a lot of people that I've at least spoken to maybe feel has some upside, especially with a guy like Jaden Daniels at the helm there. So a lot of things that stick out for week 1, but those teaser opportunities and some of these teams that are laying those solid key numbers against opponents really do stick out as usual.
Lowest total of week 1 right now, Carolina and New Orleans right now at 41. Jumping to Sunday Night Football, there was a question, and Peter Schrager tweeted out, just speculatory, hey, who will be Sunday Night Football? We've seen it so often that it's been an NFC East team. A lot of the time it's been the Dallas Cowboys, but we get a really good one. We get the return of Matthew Stafford to Detroit on Sunday Night Football. Right now the Lions laying 3 in the Stafford Return Bowl. They're Rams at Lions.
The return of the return, right? Because they played each other in the postseason.
Postseason, right? So this is the first playoff.
But they were so mean
game
to him. They were so mean to him and his family.
Kelly
so,
didn't
you
like
get,
it.
So you get that. But again, you see this, and this will probably be what we see the entire time. But it is 3, but it's juice to the favorite side. So when you see that number, this is my favorite thing about all of these numbers, as you kind of alluded to, is getting an idea of where we stand with some of these teams. And again, the Lions, we know that the win totals float around 10.5, depending on where you look, and the altered juice. What this team's going to be this year and how much the market has respect for it, I can't wait to see how they're going to handle it in the next couple of days, whatever movement's going to happen here with this game, and of course in the months leading up to the regular season when we finally get there. Attrition aside, what the market thinks of Detroit heading into a year that has some real expectations after a very strong season last year, of course.
Yeah, Monday Night Football, the New York Jets at the San Francisco 49ers. Aaron Rodgers back out to the Bay Area, returned from the Achilles tear. That's a 5.5-point spread. Week 2, Thursday Night Football, the first game on Amazon, Buffalo at Miami. Miami laying 1 there in week 2. We also, skipping ahead, I don't know if we have a lineup yet, but week 14, Falcons at the Vikings, so the return of Kirk Cousins to Minnesota in week 14, an interesting one to note there. So a lot of different storylines to hit on as things go on, and you wonder where Minnesota will be at that point in time. Will they be in a spot where J.J. McCarthy is fully entrenched as the starting quarterback? So, kind of interesting notes.
I expect that J.J. McCarthy will be playing. They have a bye week. It's week 14, so he'll be playing his 13th game.
Okay. Yeah, I would think so too. So Jaden Daniels, he will be the starter, barring something wild. You'll get him against Baker Mayfield. Looking at Jaden Daniels and the Washington Commanders at Tampa, home to New York, then Monday Night Football against the Cincinnati Bengals. Cincinnati, I think, will be certainly a fascinating team to look at. New England to start the year, where they are the biggest favorite right now in week 1, laying 8 against New England. Then you go to Kansas City. Then you get Monday Night Football against Washington and at Carolina. So it could be a really good start to the year. They will be a significant favorite, obviously, in 3 of those 4 games, and then a road trip to Kansas City, where, let's be honest, they've seen some success in recent years.
The other team that I think, and we're all curious about them given the end of the year, and we saw them in the postseason and the development of Jordan Love. But the expectations now for Green Bay from a market standpoint are going to be pretty fascinating. The neutral site game, where you're just catching 1.5 against Philadelphia. You're a 4-point favorite against the Indianapolis Colts. On the road on September 22nd, you're laying 3.5 against the Tennessee Titans. You have a divisional game against the Minnesota Vikings. That's on September 29th. You're laying 4.5 there. The market is obviously starting at a pretty decent spot when it comes to Green Bay. The expectations are really going to be there after a really strong end to the season. But with expectations, it's going to be pretty fascinating if they can meet said expectations, because we have seen that a lot, where teams get off to these, they end really well. There's that market reset essentially for them, and then all of a sudden you get a little bit of a downturn in terms of actual returns because those expectations are set so high.
Once again, Matt Brown, Mike Somich coming up, a special edition of The Handle. They'll have plenty of thoughts, but one thing that jumped out to me, Atlanta, right? A team that you and I are high on. Matt Brown sitting over here preparing for the show. He's high on as well. Maybe you wait on Atlanta, because the start of the schedule for them, Pittsburgh at home where they're a favorite, at Philadelphia Monday Night Football, home to Kansas City week 3, and then after that, it feels like game on for the Atlanta Falcons. So maybe do you get a slower start for the Atlanta Falcons and then a run on them to win the division. So a lot of ways to break this down. The schedule is here, ladies and gentlemen. We've got point spreads. We've got analysis. Matt Brown, Mike Somich, they've got you covered. Coming up next, a special edition of The Handle. For Jonathan Von Tobel, I'm Tim Murray. This has been VSiN Primetime.